every week. So stay tuned for all of that. Meanwhile, still awaiting the official release of...
Looks like it actually just has come out.
Has it come out?
1 minute ago.
Okay.
They sent an email. So I can send it your guys' way unless you have it there. But looks like a couple other surprises. Satoa Lamea was among the guys waived.
Okay.
Among the ones we've talked about. So, yeah, it literally just came out. They must have heard you guys asking about it.
Yeah. Let's see. I think I got the email here. So they've got traded to Atlanta, Michael Jarrell. We talked about that. Veteran contracts terminated. Quentin Bohanna, Shamar Jean-Charles, Zach Triner, and then MVS. Veteran contract terminated due to injury settlement. Cornerback Tyler Hall. Let's see. John Reese Plumlee. It was a wide receiver. Linebacker Wesley Steiner. Waived injury settlement. Cornerback. Do you have it, Dave? You have the list?
Not yet. Not quite yet. I'm just,
Isis Waxter.
Waxter, yeah.
Let's see. Reserve non-football injury. Jonathan Hankins. Riley Mills. Reserved injured. Wide receiver Steve Sims. And then reserved injured designated for return, Christian Haynes. So he's on the injured list, but he's designated for return. And then just straight out waived, Tyrone Broden, Keedrain Callaghan, Anthony Campbell, Seth Coleman. I'm trying to see the more familiar names. You brought up Lamea. Surprised. Actually, that is a fairly big surprise because they used him out of necessity last year. And seemed to be a guy that's, certainly rough around the edges, but had promise. But he's been waived. Damian Martinez, we talked about. Patrick O'Connell, Jarek Reed, Jimmy Sheriff, we talked about. Tyreek Smith, we talked about. Tupatala, Ricky White, Demarion Williams, Jacardia Wright. There's the other one, which kind of knew that was going to happen, even though I thought he looked good. He had a nice. I would say he's got some good tape out there for other teams.
Yeah, I think it becomes very interesting watching. Believe it or not, the one I'm most mystified by is inside backer and how Mike McDonald looks at inside backers. And I know that John is very quick to make me realize that there's no way I would be kept on any team that he had as an inside linebacker. But, I mean, they're just looking for speed, man. I mean, it's... That, and I don't know, maybe Patrick O'Connell didn't have that. So, I think that, Drake Thomas does. Some of these other ones, though, like I said, I think they kept all of the offensive linemen that they drafted, right? I don't see any of those guys on the list.
Right. And some of the other names, like I was wondering about Shaq Griffin. I don't know if he was going to make it or not. See, it appears he did. He's not on this list. And same with the receivers, Derek Young.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him on here, and I don't see Cody White either.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's...
they're keeping 6 receivers then?
Yeah, I'm surprised because they kept, I think they have 5 tight ends that they kept, if I'm not mistaken. But I thought that would cut down on the numbers. But, you just have to find different ways to, to carry your roster, and not everybody does it the same, obviously. But, yeah, I thought that there might be some casualties at wide receiver just because the tight end, like I said last year in Kubiak's offense that he ran in New Orleans, 2 of the top 3 receivers were tight ends as far as yardage goes. So I'm not sure if that, if that's something that's different than what they've done in the past. But I don't know. I think a lot of people don't know who Michael Jarrell is, but I think that's kind of interesting that they traded him to Atlanta. And it also kind of, shows you that if you see him in a game and look at him, I mean, maybe he was somebody that they were thinking about drafting. And like I said, I think a lot of that for the pro personnel guys that put all of this time into, looking at guys at the draft, it might have been a guy that they were, they wanted to get him. They're like, damn. I mean, and I know Michael Jarrell's not like a big name, but like when you become attached to these players, you might come back to them if somebody's cutting them. And this is why I think what John Schneider always says is that they're more likely to exchange information for each other because everybody has their own different way of looking at it and the offense that they're running and defense that they're running. And, somebody might not, like a fullback. We're going to cut a guy, and then you have a team like, the Seahawks now that that is a priority.
Yeah, you
for their
got
run
two
game.
guys listed as fullbacks,
Yeah.
and Oots and Brady Russell.
Yep.
So they kept 6 receivers, and guys we were kind of speculating about. Jake Bobo, he made it. Cody White made it. Derek Young, certainly. The tight ends, Elijah Arroyo, Barner, Callerup, Eric Saubert, O-lineman, Anthony Bradford, Bryce Cable-Dew, Charles Cross, Josh Jones, Abe Lucas, Olawatimi, Mason Richmond, Jalen Sundell, and Gray Zabel.
Yep.
So those are your O-linemen. And then as far as they've got linebackers listed, Derek Hall, Jared Ivey, Ernest Jones, Tyrese Knight, Boye Mafe, Uchenna Nwosu, Connor O'Toole, Drake Thomas. So how much of a surprise do you think it was to Patrick O'Connell? Do you think he was stunned, or do you think you've been there when these things happen. Do you think guys have a sense? I know I'm getting cut, or they get word perhaps early? I don't know. How does that usually go?
Yeah, I think they probably gave him some kind of indication. It's sort of interesting to me also because the fact that they had him in the production meeting and he came in there, and I think they were just trying to get guys. So the 3 guys we talked to, well, 4. We had Schneider, but then, it was George Halani, who's short on words, but
he's short on legs
too.
But he made it.
But yeah, he did. And then we had Patty O in there, and I thought for sure that he was going to make the team, and and he went out and had a really good outing. So yeah, it's kind of interesting, and I think that they probably give him some kind of an indication, but probably not tell him until the day of, because you don't want any information getting out.
Yeah. Just taking a look at some of the other position groups. Cornerbacks, talked about Shaq Griffin, Josh Jobe. Nehemiah Pritchett was one I was not certain had a spot there, but he makes it along with Devin Witherspoon and Reek Woolen. Your safeties, DeAnthony Bell, Kobe Bryant, Nicky Mamori, Julian Love, Ty Okada. D-line, DeMarcus Lawrence, Mike Morris. Were you certain he was going to make it?
I wasn't, and there's a lot about him that they like. I just haven't seen it yet from Mike Morris. And I know that he's a very versatile player, and they love that. But yeah, it's kind of interesting, the insight. Some guys are really easy to figure out why they like him, and then there are others that, the 2 linebackers, and I was kind of with Dodson last year when they cut him.
Surprised.
Yeah, and he was surprised too. He's like, I thought I was playing pretty well, and I guess I didn't really see him as being the problem. But Mike has certain things that he wants done in that defense, and he has a very keen eye for inside linebacker. And I always think it's interesting with him, because if he's not a head coach and he had to be a position coach and he could go wherever he wanted and coach whoever he wanted, he'd be an inside linebacker coach.
Yeah,
there's no question about it. But they obviously got the right combination of guys last year, and with Tyrese Knight and EJ. So yeah, that one was kind of shocking to me, and it's interesting that they like the Drake as much as they do.
Love
Thomas.
the Drake.
Love the Drake.
Well, Mike McDonald, this could be good news about the status of Tyrese Knight, and he was asked yesterday about that status for week 1.
Tyrese, let's see him practice a full practice first before we start kind of making projections towards the game. But he's projected to practice next week in full, and we'll see how that goes.
I would think based on the moves they made here, they're feeling pretty confident about his return, right? If they thought he was not going to be ready for week 1, would they have kept Patrick O'Connell?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, definitely. I think they would have needed a lot more depth there. So yeah, that one's kind of interesting. But also, they have safeties that they can use in that situation, and there's a lot of teams that are out there. And this is where I think it'll be interesting to see where this ends up, because lots of teams are starting to go back to the fullback. And so I think the Seahawks offense is really going to be advantaged this year with Robbie Oots back there and possibly Brady Russell, because there's a lot of teams that have these smaller inside linebackers, and Dodson was one of them. That guy was probably 215, 220 pounds. He could run like the wind, but Now all of a sudden those guys are going to be overmatched. And I got to tell you, with Tyrese Knight and EJ, those two guys they don't look that big, but when you look at their weight, they're like 235, 240. They can take on fullbacks. They have that versatility there.
Taking a listen to some other things that Mike Macdonald talked about. He talked about, and this obviously could have affected somebody else's job, the fact they're going to carry 3 quarterbacks on the roster with Jalen Milroe. And Mike Macdonald yesterday was asked if they will have 3 quarterbacks active on game day.
We've worked out both scenarios. We do mock during preseason. We do like mock who would be up, how would we handle it, just so we're with the new offensive staff, making sure we understand, hey, what it's going to look like once we probably get into the season. And then you toss around certain scenarios. So we've worked through both scenarios.
So what do you think? Do you think Milroe is going to be active one week, not active the next week, which probably gives the opposition a heads up that, all right, he could be involved in some packages in this game, and obviously if he's not active, not a concern. But any surprise there?
I don't think there's a surprise there, because I think it's, he was definitely somebody that they were going to use. And I asked John Schneider that in the production meeting. I was like, I put it this way. I was like, do you remember when you drafted Jalen Milroe? And he told me right after the draft that they're going to use him as a weapon. And so I think, and I asked him if has anything changed, because remember, Daniel Jeremiah was kind of pumping the brakes on that. Like, yeah, that's one of those things that sounds good upstairs, but when you get downstairs on the practice field, now all of a sudden it doesn't seem like such a great idea. And now you look at, they are very serious about that, but that's going to cause some problems as far as like you're going to, not problems, but like they're going to have to be careful about that, because, if you just were to have, just Milroe and Sam Darnold, and Darnold gets hurt, now he has to go in there. And you saw the other day, I mean, he is not near where he needs to be as far as a pocket passer.
Drew Lock is your better option, without question.
Way better. So now you're going to have to carry 3 if you want to do that, and then it just makes the rest of the game day roster kind of hard to manipulate. I mean, I don't think they'll do. I think they'll do it in a smart way, no question. But like if they get some bad luck, you might be down to some players playing a different position. You know, and so like interior defensive line. I mean, I don't know if that's ever going to be a problem for them, but it is kind of a risk. Because that's something that on game day you're going to have to make some serious decisions as far as keeping him on the roster on game day.
Some other things Mike Macdonald addressed. He talked about the practice squad evaluation and talked about the opportunities to make the cut process a bit easier. They know the guys that play a big role for them.
Absolutely, yeah. And the guys that were here last year, you got. I think we have several examples of guys come up and playing great football for us. Cody White, Josh Jobe. You can go down the list of guys being ready, and as an organization and as the head coach, you take a tremendous amount of pride in how you develop your guys. And when you have the feeling when guys have an opportunity to come up and play in a game and you're excited to see them play, well, that's the way you want it to feel. You don't want to be like, oh shoot, so-and-so's got to come play this game. No, you're like, oh, okay, this guy's been working his tail off, making plays in practice and on the look team and in special teams practice and all that. Let's go watch him play on Sunday, and let's have him go help us win a football game. So that's the attitude we want to have.
Yeah, I'm just going through this, and anything jump out to you like maybe somewhere on, you thought maybe he would get cut. I thought Brady Russell might be a casualty just because of Robbie Oots. But I'll tell you what, that guy has made himself another one, receiver, Jake Bobo. Yeah. Initially, I thought, well, maybe he would be a guy that I love that they kept Cody White and Derek Young, but I thought, maybe with all these tight ends, that they're gonna maybe keep one less receiver. But I don't know, for whatever reason, Brady Russell, maybe I just didn't appreciate how much he can do. But I thought maybe he might be a cut. And then
I thought Mike Morris, personally, because of what we just talked about. Just haven't seen him. He hasn't been healthy. I don't really, we're not seeing every moment of practice, as we say all the time. So obviously he's doing something that the coaches see that say, hey, this has got great value. This guy's going to be a player for us. which is great. I mean, they're the ones, that are seeing every moment of that. But just from the outside, when we're looking in and you're looking at, all right, how do you trim this roster? I'm looking at him going, he really has not done anything for this team to this point. He's had a hard time staying on the field health-wise. He felt like he could have been a cut, and that was a little surprise for me.
Yeah, and I think it would be really interesting to talk to Mike and John and even be able to look at film. Like, why do you like him? What is it? Because it's a lot of times. I don't know if you guys saw that the clip. I don't know if I sent you the article or whatever, where Gray Zabel hurdles over the defensive lineman's leg and to get the block. Like, there's things like that happening with Mike Morse. That's the only explanation for that he is doing things that are special out on the field. So, and a lot of it is in practice and, one-on-ones or, maybe some random 11-on-11 scrimmage or whatever that, they're seeing those kinds of things from him. Because, like you said, DeMarcus Lawrence, Mike Morris, Murphy, Jaron Reed, and Leonard Williams. So, yeah, that one's kind of interesting. Another
Shaq
one.
Griffin was one I was not certain was going to make the team. MVS, I was not surprised. But the Shaq Griffin, we just hadn't seen much of him, and I know he played in this last game, but I didn't know if they just brought him in for camp, and he's a veteran voice. He's an insurance policy, but maybe, it was to get some of the other guys to step up. I don't know. I didn't know that his spot was certain by any stretch, but he made it. So had he been released, I wouldn't have been surprised by that.
I think another cool one is Jared Ivey.
Linebacker?
That dude, outside linebacker. He played really well. And, I think he's one that is, I think, more because of just the personality that he has. He's known as a dog, a guy that will go out there and fight you. So that one was kind of interesting. Safety, DeAnthony Bell, we don't really know that much about him other than, what we saw in the preseason. And then everybody saw Ty Okada with the one-handed interception. So, and then, got to say it, Bob, you've got Chris Stoll is a good long snapper, but Michael Dixon and Jason Myers. And you know what? Jason Myers made a tackle in the Kansas City game, and I will never forget that.
Now you like him.
Yeah. But
now you're saying he's a football player.
But Michael Dixon, with an average, and I think it was around 48, was his net punting average, and it was like third best in NFL history.
Yeah. He's a weapon. He's a weapon. They signed him to do the extension. They drafted him, in the 4th round?
Yeah.
So, he's been a weapon, flipping the field and doing a great job with that. One more from Mike McDonald, just talking about Jalen Milroe. And we talk about his spot certainly on the roster. Is he going to be active every week? What's the plan for him? And Mike McDonald sort of outlines the plan they've got for him during practice each week.
Yeah, of course. I mean, first of all, he needs reps, as does Drew. And, we're going to have plays for Jalen and game plans, and he's going to rep those are the ones. However we build the package for him going into games, he needs those reps and walkthrough and full speed. So that's going to be important. How we do it, who gets how many reps, all that. I mean, obviously, Sam, it starts with how many reps he needs to get ready, and then we kind of work off from there.
So we talked to Jalen Milroe in the production meeting. Amazing. He's one of those guys that you'd almost rather listen to him talk than watch him play because the things he says are so wise. But, one of the things that's going to be really difficult for him as a rookie, not getting reps. I mean, you want to get Darnold and Locke ready to go every week. And so, he's going to, have to play scout team, and then all the reps that he's going to have to look at. Now, there's probably going to be different kinds of plays that are just for him, because I don't think you're going to have either of this, Darnold or Locke running the read option, or doing the tush push thing. But so they have to have some, but it's not a lot. So all the reps that you take, you have to do it by watching it and then looking at film and just trying to insert yourself in that situation, because like I said, they had a lot of drop back passes for him that are just, he's not a pocket passer.
Yeah.
At least not yet in the NFL. They're going to make him one. So,
well, and he's definitely got to, if they're going to use him in packages where they're going to ask him to run the ball, he's got to get that ball security in check. That was a poor display. With three fumbles lost. Can't have it.
And one of them was the snap, and it was it was a little, but it was his right shoulder.
He was there.
He should have had it.
Yeah.
I'm saying it wasn't like right on his number, but it was where his shoulder pad was.
Yeah.
And I think what happened there is that he was looking downfield already. So, just like a receiver that doesn't secure a ball before he, turns upfield, and that's what happened there. But I mean, look, he's a very mature guy. I think he'll mature quickly, but it's going to be a lot harder for him from here on out because he's not going to get the reps in practice.
Yeah, and nor should he. I mean, it's
you got to get your.
If Sam Darnold's like, look, I need as many as I can get because he had
He's
4
new.
for 4 in preseason, which is great, but 4 passes. He's new. He's a new guy in a new offense with new pieces around him and a new coordinator. So, yeah, I want him to take as many reps as he thinks are necessary. And if that comes at the expense of Drew Lock and Jalen Milroe, too bad.
Yeah.
He's the priority. He's whoever the starter is, they're the priority.
Yep.
So, yeah, you're right. It'll be certainly as a rookie even harder for Milroe, but I don't know how often they're going to have him passing in any of these packages they may have for him. I would assume the threat of a pass is there, but it's more often than not going to be to run the ball.
Yeah.
So maybe it doesn't impact him as badly as it otherwise would have if he were more of a traditional drop back passer.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the guys that they drafted that they waived, and some are from a couple of years ago. I guess you can count Tyreek Smith because they did draft him, in 2022, I think?
Yeah, was he Ohio State?
Ohio State guy, yeah. And then Ricky White from this year. Who else? Jarek Reed was a draft choice at one point. So Damian Martinez, obviously, and then interesting. You look at they kept the Callerup kid at tight end, and Marshall Lang was a casualty. He was one of the other tight ends in that situation. So nothing that really blows you away. Rabel asked me, he goes, what do you think is a surprise cut? And I said MVS, but I said, don't make me the Grim Reaper, okay, Steve? I mean, This is ridiculous. But, I thought maybe that was a guy, and then, once you saw him on display, it was like, okay, coach is giving him a chance to get some film so he can go and prove that, he is still, what he was in the past.